Hey everyone. You know, when you hear the word hypnosis, everybody automatically thinks of stage hypnosis. People generally don't think about therapeutic hypnosis, and there's a reason for that. It goes back a long way. During the Revolutionary War, the United States, of course, was fighting Britain, and the United States really wanted France on their side. They needed the money, and they hopefully were going to get some soldiers to help fight the British when the war wasn't going very well. So what they did was they sent the statesman par excellence, Benjamin Franklin, on a boat to France, where his job was to get the French on the side of the Americans. There was only one problem. Franklin was a ladies' man. He didn't just like talking and flirting with the ladies. Franklin made his job to get inside the pants of just about every single woman in the French court. Needless to say, people were not very happy with Ben Franklin. It's one of the reasons why they call him one of the fathers of our country, if you get my drift. Well, at the same time that Franklin was doing his thing in France, there was a man in France who was called the discoverer of hypnosis. He called it mesmerism. And in mesmerism, he believed that there were trees that were charged with certain power, certain magnetic power, and women would go and touch one of the trees, go into a trance, and tell Mesmer everything that was going on in their life, and he was helping a lot of people. He was using the tree as an induction device.
Hey, Harlan, this is Jay. I was just calling.
There's the video, the sound going off in the background because Sandra was bad, but we're just going to keep going through this. And that's Jay Simke, who's in my coaching group in the background. He will be punished for this. In any event, so Franklin was called to be on a committee that was evaluating whether or not mesmerism worked. And Franklin discovered that under mesmerism, people, especially women, told all of their deep secrets. Franklin then realized, having the fact that he had fooled around with nearly every woman in the French court, probably was not a real good idea for diplomacy. So he stepped in and, as the scientific expert, put an end to mesmerism, put an end to hypnosis, declaring it a fraud. Fast forward nearly 200 years, and the United States still considered hypnosis to be a fraud. The American Psychiatric Association, the American Medical Association, all considered hypnosis a fraud. And the position on hypnosis changed solely because of the work of Dr. Milton Erickson. So I want to tell you a quick Erickson story. It's my favorite. Pay attention to this story. There was a young man who was incarcerated in the Naval Hospital in San Diego, California. He was a recruit to the Navy, but had lost at least a couple of his marbles because his idea of normal behavior was every time he got near a knife, he would pick it up and plunge it into the arm of the next person to him, which of course could be a problem because nobody wanted to be near the guy, and he was stabbing people. So one day Erickson came to this naval hospital and decided to give a demonstration of hypnosis and work with the patients. And the psychiatrists lined up in the hall with their patients, one after the other. They would go in, they would talk to Erickson, or Erickson would talk to them, and then they would come out. And this young man is standing there next to a psychiatrist and sees people walking in like somnambulistic trances, totally out of it. And the young man starts saying, "Hey, I didn't consent to electric shock therapy. You can't give me no electric shock. I don't agree. I don't want to be part of this." And the psychiatrist told him, "Just be quiet." They walk into the room, and it's an amphitheater, and it is filled with doctors looking down at Erickson, watching his every move. The doctor brings his patient up to Erickson, and Erickson tells the doctor, "Okay, you can sit down." What's his story? The doctor fills him in. Erickson tells him to sit down. And Erickson looks at the young boy and says, young man, how surprised will you be when all your behavior changes and becomes good next week? And the young man looks right back at Erickson, who's standing there on 2 crutches because he had polio and everyone's watching what he's doing. He doesn't know why he's there. And he says, "Old man, I'll be very surprised." Well, Erickson says to the doctor, "Okay, you can take him out of here." And everybody in the room starts to snicker. See, he dealt with a really hard case and he couldn't get anywhere. He didn't even try hypnosis and so forth. Erickson leaves. Another failure in Erickson's book, they say, until a week later, and the young man starts displaying perfect behavior. Can you tell what Erickson did based on what I said? Go back and review the story, listen to the words that I quoted, and tell me what Erickson did to change that young man's life. We'll talk more about it tomorrow.